Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a 2019 horror film directed by Andrea Riedel and produced by Guillermo del Toro. It is based on the popular children's book series of the same name by Alvin Schwartz, which contains a collection of short horror stories aimed at young readers. The film's screenplay was written by Dan and Kevin Hageman, and it stars Zoe Margaret Coletti, Michael Garza, and Gabriel Rush. The film takes place in 1968 in the small town of Mill Valley, Pennsylvania. On Halloween night, a group of teenagers, Stella, Augie, and Chuck, decide to explore the abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. They meet a new boy in town, Ramon, and together they uncover a book of scary stories that belong to a mysterious girl named Sarah Bellows, who was said to have been locked up in the mansion's basement. As they read the stories, the group begins to experience terrifying events that seem to be connected to the tales in the book. The film's plot is a clever adaptation of the source material, as it weaves together several of the stories from the books into a cohesive narrative. This approach allows the filmmakers to create a sense of dread and unease throughout the film, as the characters are unsure which of the stories in the book will come to life next. One of the strengths of the film is its characters. The four teenage protagonists are all well-defined and likable, with distinct personalities and backstories. Zoe Margaret Coletti gives a standout performance as Stella, the film's lead, who is dealing with the trauma of her mother abandoning her family. The film also touches on themes of friendship, loss, and self-acceptance, which adds depth to the characters and makes the audience care about their fates. Another standout aspect of the film is its production design and visual effects. The film's setting of 1968 is convincingly realized through the use of period-appropriate costumes, sets, and props. The mansion where the majority of the film takes place is a haunting and atmospheric location, with a sense of history and tragedy that is palpable. The monsters and ghosts that haunt the characters throughout the film are brought to life with impressive practical and digital effects, creating a sense of visceral horror that is sure to unsettle audiences. However, the film is not without its flaws. While the overarching narrative of the film is well executed, some of the individual stories that are adapted from the books are less successful. In particular, the story of Harold the Scarecrow feels underdeveloped, and its resolution is unsatisfying. Additionally, some of the scares in the film rely on jump scares and loud noises, which can feel cheap and unearned. Overall, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a successful adaptation of the beloved children's book series. Its clever use of the source material and well-defined characters make it an enjoyable and engaging horror film, while its production design and visual effects are top-notch. While not every story in the film is successful, the overarching narrative is strong enough to keep audiences engaged and scared throughout. Fans of the books will be pleased with the film's faithful adaptation, while newcomers will find a spooky and entertaining horror film that stands on its own. One of the strengths of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is its ability to balance horror with emotional depth. The film takes the time to establish its characters and their relationships, allowing the audience to connect with them on a personal level. This makes it all the more terrifying when they are put in danger by the monsters and ghosts that haunt them. The film's themes of friendship, loss, and self-acceptance also give it a sense of emotional weight that is often lacking in other horror films. The film's use of practical effects and makeup is another standout element. The monsters and ghosts that appear in the film are grotesque and terrifying, with a sense of physicality that adds to their impact. The use of practical effects also gives the film a tactile quality that is missing in many modern horror films, where CGI is often used to create monsters and scares. The practical effects in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark are reminiscent of classic horror films, and they are sure to please horror fans who appreciate old-school scares. The performances in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark are also strong. Zoe Margaret Coletti gives a standout performance as Stella, bringing depth and nuance to the character. Michael Garza is also excellent as Ramon, the new kid in town who becomes a part of Stella's group of friends. Gabriel Rush and Austin Zager round out the cast as Chuck and Augie, respectively, and they both give memorable performances as well. The film's production design and cinematography are also noteworthy. The mansion where most of the film takes place is a creepy and atmospheric location, with a sense of history and tragedy that is palpable. The cinematography by Roman Ozin is moody and evocative, using shadows and light to create a sense of unease. The film's use of color is also striking, with a muted color palette that adds to its eerie atmosphere. Despite its strengths, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark does have some flaws. As mentioned earlier, some of the individual stories that are adapted from the books are less successful than others. The story of Harold the Scarecrow, in particular, feels underdeveloped and lacks a satisfying conclusion. Additionally, the film's scares can sometimes feel cheap and unearned, relying too heavily on jump scares and loud noises. Overall, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a successful adaptation of a beloved book series that will please horror fans and newcomers alike. Its strong characters, emotional depth, and use of practical effects make it a standout horror film that is sure to unsettle audiences. While it may not be perfect, its strengths far outweigh its weaknesses, making it a must-see for anyone who loves a good scare.